Today's conversation is with a dear friend who just what runs through her is so similar. Her passion and her heart to see women stepping into what God has called them to do and to use their voice. It's beautiful. Her name is Amie Stockstill, and I am just thrilled that she would join me on this podcast because you guys are going to be so blessed by the encouragement and the courage that she will infuse into you as you listen in Amie Stockstill. I can't wait for you to hear. Welcome back to the Dreamers to Doers podcast, and I am just beaming with joy because I have the privilege of sitting with my dear friend Amie Stockstill for a few minutes to get to hear a little bit about her life. Guys, this is gonna be so fun. You are such a fun soul. I have really enjoyed getting to know you. You were saying you have a friend that kind of like knows everyone and everyone knows. I feel like you're like that because I remember even before I met you, it was like, hey, have you ever met Amie? I think you and Amie need to connect. Do you know who Amie is? And so I had the great privilege and honor of getting to spend some time with you and meet you a couple years ago, I think now. And it is just, you're a ball of fun and joy, and you bring so much life to every room you walk in. And I am really excited for our listeners to get to hear just a little piece of who you are and what you've been walking out and just what it's taken for you to walk this road. And so I'm not going to introduce it. I'm going to let you share about the ministry that you started and are walking out right now that is impacting so many women.
Yes, I will. And I think the way we met, someone also told me, a couple people were like, hey, you really should know Sarah. And I think I just reached out to you on Instagram. I was like, can I be your friend?
Love that. Yes, you came to my house.
I did.
You came over to me and Abby. Yeah.
I was just like, I want to be your friend. Can I be your friend? I'm the type of person. I want to be around people who are doing stuff.
Yes.
And walking out what God has. So I saw that on your life. I'm like, man, this is a doer. This is a woman that I want to be connected with. And thankfully you weren't like, you weirdo.
Yeah. Never. I like that too. You were a fellow doer yourself. And I'm like, girl, we're going to come over. My kid's going to be there, but we just had coffee at my table. That was so fun.
It was really fun. And what I do, which is a privilege and an honor, I still am like, Lord, I can't believe I get to do this, is I come alongside women who want to use their voice in any which way, podcast, curriculum, writing, preaching and teaching, speaking, all the things. And my ministry is called Let's Echo, and I help women echo Jesus.
I love that. I love that name, and I didn't get the correlation to that until just now. And hearing you say that in that nutshell is so powerful. And you have done that so beautifully with retreats and with coaching now that you offer, and also your resources. So do you have a retreat coming up?
I do, and I will say that we have shifted from using the word retreat to workshop, because it's not a restful
Come on, girl.
Not a restful like hangout and kind of let me just take. We do intensive workshops where you do learn, but then you also give, because we have so many conferences out there. We sit there, we take awesome notes, and it transforms us in a way inwardly. But Let's Echo is about you using your words with Jesus to help other people have that transformational experience. So we do annual workshops where you come and learn to preach, and then you actually preach.
Love that.
And you get feedback. Yeah, so
you just lost about half the people who were about to sign up. They're like, now I'm not going to.
I know. But a lot of women do come and they don't realize all the ways that Satan has tried to silence them. And so they come and it's this gorgeous, deep work that I actually never intended. I never intended to have this deep work happen, but God did. And so God does all this deep inner working so that they can be free to then use their voice.
That is so powerful. Amie, how did you even start that? I'm genuinely asking you this. Like, I don't know that I've asked you this question in our hangouts. Where did this come from in your heart? Why and when and where?
Things. Couple things. I went to LSU, Louisiana State University, for interior design. And I always thought that I would be Chip and Joanna Gaines, before Joanna came on the scenes. That's what I wanted to do. I wanted to go in, renovate houses, make spaces beautiful. And then I met and married my husband, who was a pastor, and he said, welcome to the ministry. And I thought, I don't really know if I would want to be welcomed to the ministry. I have this whole plan. I'm going to be a designer, all these things. And then we started traveling and speaking. He was an itinerant speaker and pastor. So the first 5 years of our marriage, we were traveling together every weekend, almost every weekend for 5 years. And people just started saying, oh, your wife is always with you. Does she preach? And my husband would say, yes. And I'm like, no, I don't. And he's like, yes, you do. I'm like, no, I don't. I don't want to stand in front of anyone. I don't want a microphone. I don't want a platform. I don't even want to go to the green room. I don't want to sit on the front row. I don't want any of this stuff. I just want to love you and let you do what God's called you to do. And my husband said, well, we're actually called to do this together, and you're going to preach. So I made a lot of mistakes in front of thousands and thousands and thousands of people. And I would cry and I would fight.
You mean
with my
like getting up
husband.
and preaching because you just were then like, hey, Amie, here's the mic. You need to share.
Yeah, my husband would turn to me and say, right before worship is over, and say, hey, I want you to get up with me and I want you to greet the people. And I'm like, no. He's like, yes, you are.
Okay.
I'm like, no, I'm not doing that. And he's like, okay, well, why don't you ask Jesus? And I'm like, that's just a dirty, that's just a dirty move.
Yeah.
That's like a low blow, And so I would ask Jesus, and I would feel like Jesus would say, hey, this is me. You need to say yes. So I go up with my husband, knees shaking. I feel like I'm going to fall on the stairs, which I had tripped on many stairs. And just with a shaky hand, microphone in hand, and say, hey, I literally started by saying, hey, y'all.
I love
That's it.
It's so good.
That's it. And then my husband, then he would be like, isn't she beautiful? And I would sit back down. So a couple years of just me saying, hey, and thank you for having us. I got a little bit stronger each time. And then my husband would say, okay, now it's time for you to share scripture. I'd share a little scripture. I went blank a bunch of times, stumbled over the words, misquoted things, all the mistakes you can make. And then we were in a hotel room in Arkansas. And my husband is a dialysis patient, which means he has no kidneys, but we're believing for the Lord to resurrect those kidneys in Jesus' name. And he came out of the bathroom. He had to preach twice that morning. And he came out of the bathroom and he said, had gotten dressed. He said, Amie, I'm not feeling good. I'm going to need you to take the first service. And up out of my spirit, Sarah, not a thought in my brain, no hesitation. It was in my heart and in my spirit. It came up. I can't do that. I don't have anything to say. And my husband swiftly rebuked me and said, don't ever say that you don't have anything to say. You have 66 books worth of the Bible to say. And you need to go and find out why this lie has taken root in your heart and why you are saying no to the Lord. And I was like, sir, yes, sir. And so that week in our Bible reading, I read John 12:49, red letters, words of Jesus. And he said, I only say what I hear my Father saying. And that verse was a rhema verse that quickened in my heart and broke down every lie, because I thought I have to be impressive. I have to be tweetable. I have to have tons of experience. I have to have this deep revelation that no one's ever had. I have to be a theological genius. All these thoughts in my mind were the reasons I'm not good in standing in front of people, and they're going to think I'm dumb, and I stutter in my words, and I have a lot of times my mind goes blank, and I have to think about all these lies in my mind. And then that one verse, the Lord quickened in my heart to break all of that down. Red letters. And I thought, man, Jesus himself, the greatest preacher that will ever live on the face of the earth, there's never going to be a greater preacher ever that comes along. If he did not come up with his own message, if all Jesus did was echo the heart of his Father, I can do that too.
Wow, that is so powerful.
I can take a deep breath. I can take all the pressure off of
Takes
myself.
the pressure off.
It takes the pressure off. I don't have to
Yes.
prove anything to anybody. I just have to say what I hear my Father saying. And that's where our echo, that's where the name of our ministry came from.
That is
John
so
12:49.
powerful. And just you stepping out and saying, I needed this. So surely these other ladies are going to need this. Pastors' wives, women wanting to go in ministry, feeling called to use their voice, or even just not understanding they have a voice to use. And I think
Totally.
it is such a powerful ministry. And so, okay, so now fast forward and you're walking this out, this calling that God's put in your heart, this idea that he's put in your heart. What are some of your challenges and setbacks, kind of barriers that you have come up against or walked through, or you laugh because there's maybe a few, I don't know. You can
There's
pick
so
one,
many.
you can just pick two, whatever. I know. We know because
There's so
that's
many.
why we have roundtables to talk about all of the challenges. Yeah.
There's so many. For me personally, my husband deals with chronic illness. We've also faced infertility 14 years. And the suffering and the cost, I think the cost that it takes to really continue to move forward. It's easy to start sometimes. For some people, it may be harder to start. But for me, it's easy to start things. But to stay the course and to have the fruit of the Spirit, the long suffering, that's really outside of educating people, because so many people are against women preachers. That's kind of on an outside attack, which is easier for me, to my personality, to deal with. But an inner challenge is just, wow, this is really hard. This is really, really painful. This cost is very high. And I don't really want to pay this price to continue walking in the calling that God has for me. And in the dream, it really is a dream. It's a dream that the Lord gave me. But the cost, it gets higher. And I think it was, I can't remember her name right now, a really very well-known preacher who moved in Signs and Wonders. She had a very theatrical way of preaching. I'm blanking on her name, but she said, I die 1,000 deaths and then I die 1,000 more. And I think about that so much, because that is what walking out your dream is, continuing to die. And I know that's not like crazy encouraging, so don't turn this podcast off.
Yeah.
But
this is
the
the truth. And this is the problem though too, is that we have wanted to align ourselves with the way the world steps into their dreams versus the way that as Christian women, we step into, honestly, it's not even our dreams, it's God's dreams that he's imparted into our lives. And we get to partner with him on that. But we've kind of put those next to each other as this, oh, these should look parallel, and it really doesn't. And so I think by you saying that, that's actually the most powerful thing you can say, because that's the truth. And actually, a young lady I was interviewing, she is a women's ministry, and she had the exact same answer. And it was the long suffering and the walking out the daily and continuing to pay the cost. That was what she shared. And I feel like that's so vulnerable and that's so real. And I appreciate you saying it, because what would we be if we were just, hey, go and do and dream and it's going to be the best thing ever? And what would that serve? No one would ever fulfill what they're called to do, because they wouldn't understand what they're going to be up against. And so I really actually appreciate the honesty on that. Has there been times that you have wanted to quit, or how have you pressed through in the moments where you're like, I don't know if I want to pay that cost again? And you're like me, where there's no one calling us up like, hey girl, I need you to do this. Or, like, hey, you got to be here at this time and minister to these ladies. Like, this is something that you are pioneering with the Lord. And so what has kept you from quitting, or how do you keep going despite all of that?
I have really battled with the Lord. So I started Echo 2007, 2017.
Okay.
Is that right? Yeah, 2017. I prayed for a whole year. I saw this vision of the Lord to have 6 girls in my home. That's how I started. And I wanted to teach them how to preach because I didn't have that. No one taught me how to preach. My husband was like, you will preach and good luck to you. But no one taught me how to preach. And so I said, I want to be what I wish that I had. And 6 girls in my home. I brought it to my husband. And he said, I don't see it. And I was like, okay. He's like, keep praying. I'm like, okay. Whole year, Sarah, whole year, 2016, I'm praying. I bring it to Joel. Joel says, I don't see it. And he's a prophet. And I'm like, well, I don't know why you don't see it because I see it. And every time you tell me to go back and pray, the vision gets bigger. So at the end of 2016, I said, it was December. I said, Joel, I'm going to bring this to you one last time. If you don't see it, then I'm going to move on. But it keeps getting bigger in my spirit. And so I'm just going to submit it to you one more time. And my darling husband, after bringing it to him a million times in 2016, at the very last second was like, I see it. I think this is good. I think this is the Lord. I'm like, what took you so long?
Yeah.
But I didn't know what the Lord was doing in me, and through that was laying a year-long foundation of prayer and vision seeking. And that is what started this dream out, and that's actually what has sustained me. I have fasted and prayed and begged the Lord to allow me to quit. Just being honest.
I love that you fasted for that.
I really did.
He's like, oh, girl.
He's like, girl, I really was like, I fasted, I prayed, I got off of social media. I was like full on 40-day fast. Jesus, I'm really asking you to let this cup pass. I was like, I didn't sweat blood, but I was sweating.
Yeah.
Like,
come on, Lord.
Like,
come on.
Like I have all these other dreams and all these other things that I want to do. And I see all these other great women of God not doing ministry and just doing their thing. And I don't think that's fair. Like, I want to be able to
let me do my thing. Yeah.
Let me do my thing. And I think long answer short is vision. Every time that I pray for the Lord to let me quit, my vision actually increases, which is very annoying.
Come
a lot
on.
of people are asking for vision and they don't get it. This has happened to me, Sarah, over and over and over again. Even when Joel was telling me no in 2016, when I pray and ask Jesus, is this you? Can I quit? Can you allow me to do something else? My vision for Echo doubles, quadruples, gets bigger. And so the answer is, Amie, this isn't about you. This is my vision. It's my ministry. Do you want to be a vessel or not? Because you sing all these songs and say, Lord, use me. Lord, fill me. I'm a vessel. Do whatever you want. And then you keep kicking, whining, and I'm having to like drag you through this. So do you want to be a vessel or not? And so when you're saying yes to being a vessel, the vision always comes. And that's what keeps me from quitting is vision.
Yeah. Okay. What would you say to the woman who is listening to you thinking, oh man, that's really good for her that she was able to step out and do that. And I've got this idea kind of in my spirit as well, but I don't feel equipped. And what would you say to her?
A couple of things. I didn't feel equipped when I started out, and I don't know who waits to feel equipped until they step out. Oh, it's really everything in the kingdom is upside down, inside out, right side left. It is not like the world. So in the world, they teach you do all these things and then you'll feel ready and then you step out. In the kingdom, it's step out and you'll learn. Or look at the apostles. Jesus is like, go. And they're like, what do we even do? What are we doing here? And I would say that you're actually not, it's opposite. We want to be equipped.
I love that.
And then we want to start.
Yeah. That's good.
What you need to do is start and then you'll be equipped. And I'm not saying you can't. I'm fully behind training and courses and education, but I have watched many women feel like I can't do it until, and they set some crazy bar. I can't do it until all A through Z happens. Or they'll even say, I can't do it until A happens, which is maybe I'll take this course. And then guess what? You never make time for the course. You never take the course. So then you never do the thing. You've got to strip away all the barriers and say, I actually don't have to do, the number one thing I have to do is just start. Take one step towards what, and it's not your dream, whatever God has told you, take a step. And I think a lot of people are afraid because they haven't stepped out. I know that sounds silly. They think, well, I haven't stepped out because I'm afraid. No, it's opposite. You're afraid because you haven't stepped out.
You're afraid because you haven't stepped out. Explain that.
Every time you take a step and do, it's not about, I think so many people are waiting on their own confidence. And your confidence will not come unless you take a step. When you step out, knowing, oh, this is really scary for me. I don't feel equipped for this. I don't feel enough for this. Then God meets you as you go. And that's biblical. He said when they were on the road, I think it's the road to Emmaus, he met them on their way. And we're waiting for God to like knock on our door and pull us out and say, come walk with me. And God's like, get your butt out the bed, put them walking shoes on, go to the front door,
and get going.
Step out of the front door, and I will be there to hold your hand.
And they didn't even recognize it at first. That's what's crazy. They didn't even see it at first. And it's like, there he is meeting them on the path. That is
as they go.
As they go. That is really powerful.
Step. And then you start to build up your own understanding of, oh, that wasn't so bad. Or, oh, I failed, but I failed forward. Because a lot of people they're scared because they don't want to fail. But actually, failing is one of the best things that you can do. Please hear me, ladies. Failing is one of the best things that you can do, because then you realize, oh, I failed, but it was just because I should have done this different. Now I'll do that different. Or, oh, I failed, but I learned all these lessons. Or, oh, I failed and the world didn't end. I failed and I can keep going. Don't be afraid of failure. And every time you do take that step, you can look back on it and say, remember when I took that step and it went well? Great. I'm going to take another step and watch that go well. It
gives you the courage to take the next step. That's really powerful. Steve Jobs, who is not the Bible or anything of that nature, but I just think, it's fun to glean from people who have done something impactful in the world. And he was talking about the difference between a dreamer and a doer is action and not being afraid to fail. And it's both, because I think it's just like what you said. And so what a powerful thing. And we always start, we have this course called Dream Lab, Taylor Quintin and I did, that is your dear friend too. And before we start, I always share this commercial that I watched that just struck me. And I feel like this will resonate with you so much because your heart beats the same way to activate women and the church. But it was this USPS commercial and all of the boxes were coming through and it was showing, this shipping thing, and all of the boxes were being filled with like these tech items and being shipped out. And I'm just watching this numbly, actually preparing content and distracted by the TV. But this line comes across the TV and it said, "The visionaries of this world are busy creating our future." And I am like, come on, USPS commercial. Someone's going to preach that, because that could not be more true. And I think that's what I'm going to say too. Earlier when we were talking about just what holds us back and the fear and not feeling equipped, I feel like women struggle with that maybe a little bit more than men. And I think we also struggle with wanting to put ourselves out there, because I think in some ways we're a little bit more appreciated or get accolades from just being a great support or being a great mom or being a great wife, and sometimes you can get a little backlash when you put yourself out there, or get a little just not the fun sweet pat on the head like you're a good sweet little girl. And I think that's some of the reason we struggle with this and disqualifying ourselves from being women who need to have vision. Because, hey, here's the deal. If the visionaries, which they are creating the future for the next generation, you better believe that as Christian women, we better be on the forefront of that with vision, stepping out in the face of fear, whatever it is. And so I love that you also have a passion to see women understand what they carry and give them a surge of boldness to actually step out in it. So, what would you say to the woman who is listening and she doesn't know if, like, what do you really have to say? I mean, I don't really have anything to say. So why would I, I'm good in this, in my space. What would you say to her that doesn't even, maybe she doesn't even realize there's something on her life that she needs to share, whether it's with her neighbor or an entire church of 1,000 people?
I would say exactly what my husband said: ask Jesus. When you sit with Jesus, we see the woman at the well, who was really the first evangelist to tell her town about Jesus. And then we see Mary, who met Jesus at the tomb, who's really the first to tell of the resurrected Christ. It's not a coincidence that these are two women. Also, it's not a coincidence that they both had these private encounters with Jesus.
Yes, that's
They
so
had these
good, Amie.
private conversations with him where nobody, the noise and the accusations of ambition and all that, none of that was in the scene. It was them and Jesus alone. And they had a conversation with Jesus, and the result ended up being both of them being used by Jesus to go and tell others about him. They both had different messages. They both had different backgrounds, different experiences. They both came at it. One was at a well, one was at a tomb. But the end result of sitting with Jesus one-on-one and having a private encounter with him was for them to abandon their old way of thinking, to not care about people's opinions, and to go and tell the message that Jesus gave them
Wow,
to tell.
that is powerful. Come on, you can drop the mic right there or the
So
water
you
bottle.
don't think, and that's actually what happened to me. I had an encounter with the Word of God. Jesus, he is the Word. I read my word, and it doesn't have to be this big over the top thing. I was doing what I do every day. I was sitting with Jesus and the Word, and the Word came alive to me and absolutely changed the course of my life. But my husband was not in the room. My leader was not in the room. My pastor was not in the room. I had a one-on-one conversation with Jesus, and he said, yeah, you have a lot to say, and all you have to do is say what you hear me say. Boom, I'm on the right track. So I would say to you, if you are wondering if you have anything to say, sit with Jesus, have a conversation with him, have an encounter with him, with his word, and see what he has to say.
Yeah, that's beautiful. Okay, what would you, Amie, right now, tell the sweet, precious Amie who was in that year span where you were praying about, you saw the vision, you knew what God was calling you to, and you hadn't stepped out in it yet? What would you say to the Amie back then?
Ooh, that is such a good question.
I don't know if I put that on your thing. I'm sorry.
No, I think it's a great question.
Prep you for it.
Oh, man, I would say so many things. I think the number one thing I would say to her is get around other women who are running hard and fast towards Jesus. Because I didn't have that when I started. I do have a lot of acquaintances, a lot of friends. I'm a 7 on the Enneagram. I don't know how y'all feel about the Enneagram. I'm not all into it, but I am a fun, spontaneous person. I'm not saying that it's Jesus or that your personality has to mold around the Enneagram. So
Thank you for the disclaimers.
Off, okay? Don't cut us off, okay? I believe in Jesus, not in personality tests, but I'm a fun, random, spontaneous kind of person. So I have lots of fun friends. I have lots of acquaintances, but I didn't have that peer, like, you're running fast, I'm running fast, let's run fast together towards Jesus. I have that now, but it's so much harder to pioneer on your own than it is to say, God has me doing this, he has you doing this, let's pioneer this together, or let's encourage each other, let's hold each other accountable, let's make sure that you're not dropping off on your dream, because the enemy is going to do whatever it takes to isolate you and take you out. He works overtime to separate you from God and separate you from the dreams that God has on your life. And that's a lot harder to do when you're running with amazing, strong, ambitious, brave, and bold women.
Come on, that's powerful. One of the other interviews, she said she has a board of directors. And I said, I'm adopting
Yes.
that. I got to get me a board of directors.
Yeah.
And she
Get
said
you. I have one too.
they are the team Hannah. And so I'm like, I need a team Sarah around me. But that's a powerful statement. And I think that resonates. And I think if you think, oh, well, that's good for you to say because you found that, but you were intentional to find that.
Oh yeah, just like you. I'm DMing you like, can you be my friend? I mean, I'm not holding back. It's that same mindset of I can either wait and let God just bring me like a genie all the things that I need to do, or I can be confident in myself and say, I'm a cool girl. I got things going on. I'm gonna reach out to whoever. And you have to be confident in yourself enough to go, if she doesn't have the time right now, or if that's not her season, or if she doesn't reply to me, well, that's okay. There's a ton of other women that are running, then I can just reach out to them too. Or invite people to your own table if you don't find space at someone else's, and say,
that's it.
I think
That's
when
right.
it clicks, like when the dream of God clicks, and it's more than just a dream, but it's a mission and a task that God has given you, you start going, okay, it's not about me anymore. I'm not going to be like, oh, she might not like me, so I'm not going to reach out to her. It's like, no, this is about the dream, the mission, the task. So I'm going to put how I feel aside, and I'm going to start doing things that are probably uncomfortable. And let me just say, you girls that are dreaming, to walk your dream out, to go from this is a dream and now I'm a doer. You know what this space in between is? A lot of being uncomfortable, a lot of stretching, a lot of suffering, a lot of challenging, a lot of surrender, and a lot of sacrifice. But also, the most satisfying thing that you can feel is knowing that you are doing what Jesus has asked you to do.
That's right. That's beautiful, Amie. That is, way to wrap that up and put a bow on the whole package, because that's it. And that's the part where most of us is in the middle, walking out that middle space. And so I know that this was an encouragement. Okay, the last thing to wrap this up. How, Amie, do you get your brave on? I didn't put this in your questions either, but we all know, because we Christian ladies, we like the word of God. That's how we really get our true brave on, and our armor and all the things. Also worship. But we want to know your number 3 of how you get your brave on when you're headed into Echo Weekend, or you're headed onto a podcast, or you're headed to go speak at an event. How do you get your brave on?
This is not a spiritual answer.
Okay, that's what we're looking for that.
I am motivated by celebration. As a 7, I'm always wanting to do something fun. I'm always wanting to plan something. I'm always wanting to know what's going to happen. So I actually plan backwards. So for Echo Weekend, or for a podcast, or anything that I'm doing, I start with, when I'm done, I'm going to celebrate in this way.
I love that.
And then I back up the planning. Yeah, so tonight I'm having a big pizza party for all of my family. So after this podcast, I'm going to the store and getting all the pizza ingredients, because I got a pizza oven. And if you don't have a pizza oven, it will change your life. It is the most fun. And it cooks the pizza in 90 seconds.
What?
You need one.
It's like a mini one?
It's probably, you can't really see, it's 24 inches.
My goodness.
So I can cook a 16-inch pizza, and it's so fun, because you make like a charcuterie board of pizza toppings, and then people can make their own pizzas, and then you launch it. That's what it's called when you put the pizza in the oven, and it cooks for 90 seconds, and it is a blast. So I'm doing that tonight.
I love that. I'm going to get my brave on with pizza.
Yeah, with pizza girl, but anything to celebrate, because God, if you read the Bible, God is very big on festivals and celebrations and all the things. So that's how I really get my brave on, is like, all right, when this is done, I get to do X, Y, and Z, whether that be a trip or a new outfit or a massage or whatever your budget, or just like, hey, my husband and I are going to go watch the sunset on the back of his truck, whatever your budget is like. that's what I do, is like, there's something really fun coming after this.
Yes, I love that. That's so practical. And I'm gonna take you up on that pizza thing. I gotta go.
Girl, Uni Oven, ONNI, or OONI, I think. I'll send you the link.
I'm really
It's
gonna
the
look that
best
up.
pizza oven.
Okay,
Yeah,
because my
it's so
kids will
fun.
love that. Okay, so where can everybody find you and find out about Echo Weekend?
Echo Weekend is something that I do annual, but I would actually love you guys to look up the Preacher Girl Club. That is a monthly membership. It is absolutely amazing, a massive community, really active. We do live calls once a month for training and coaching, and you can find that at letsecho.co/membership. I don't really do Facebook, but I do tons. I'm on Instagram a ton under letsecho.co. There's no M on the website or the Instagram.
Okay. That's beautiful. Amie, this has been such a treat. I
A
really
blast, Sarah.
just honor you and admire all that God is doing in your life and through your life. And so I really, really appreciate you being on and sharing a little bit of that with us today. So
Of course, this was a blast. You're doing amazing. I am so honored to run alongside you. What God is building in Refresh is really beautiful. So thank you for having me.
it's a lot of fun. Okay, we'll see you next time.